Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenhoff coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. You can call. You can text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. We have a jam-packed show today. Dominic Salvia, our friend and colleague and host of the Dom Salvia Show, from 4 to 6 p.m., going to be joining us at 10:33 to do another round of All the Best People, round 5, I guess. I'm not sure what round we're on. At 11:06, Emily Pritzkow is the executive director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council, and she is going to join us to talk about a new major solar project.
Fantastic.
That is going up. It's called the Apple River Solar Project, and going to be using lots of union labor for that. So we're going to be talking to Emily Pritzkow about that. 11:33, lightening things up. The Holiday Folk Fair is coming back to Milwaukee. Dr. Paul Trebian is president and CEO of the International Institute of Wisconsin, which produces the Holiday Folk Fair. He will be here at 11:33 to tell us what you can expect if you're going to go to that event this year. And as we always do, we will wrap up the show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today, the insurance fraud edition. It's a good one. It's a good one. Again, if you ever have a thing you think should not be, send it in to Greg and me at Jane Says, JANESAYS, Jane Says, at civicmedia.us. And a reminder as well, if you were looking for some new merch, perhaps for Christmas.
Ooh, that's a coming up.
Huh?
Yeah.
Civicmedia.us. Check out our Civic Media merch. We've got hats, we've got T-shirts, we've got stickers, we have all kinds of things. So go to civicmedia.us, click on the shop button, and take a look.
I'm pushing for new merch next year.
Are you?
I want fresh merch. Fresh stuff.
Fresh stuff?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
something to shoot for.
Yeah.
Something to shoot for. We are going to start off, though, with talking tariffs.
Why, Jane? Don't they fix everything?
Well, apparently not. From Forbes magazine, Forbes.com, Trump's tariffs will probably cause Walmart to hike prices, according to the chief financial officer. We do have some clips, do we not, Greg Bach?
Yes, we have a clip of Mark Cuban speaking on this matter at a rally, I believe it was last month, giving the all-out truth on what tariffs, and we've talked about this many times.
Many times.
Tariffs are not the magic bullet. They're not going to solve economic problems, even though from a macro level, the economy is very good. The tariffs are not going to make it better. So, Calvin, can you play that clip?
Now, he has this crazy notion that putting a tariff of 60% on every single product imported from China is a good idea. Let me just tell you, this man has so little understanding of tariffs, he thinks that China pays for them. This is the same guy who also thought that Mexico would pay for the wall, so there's no Mexico. You know, we all know that across-the-board tariffs are a tax on everybody. All the major economists have said so. Kamala has talked about it over and over again. But, you know, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. I honestly think that he used to understand how tariffs work. I mean, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, he was a little bit coherent when he talked about trade policy. And he actually made a little bit of sense. But I don't know what happened to him. The way he's been thinking about tariffs and trade now, something's a little bit lost. And now his trade policies, particularly with tariffs, are basically just gibberish.
And a tax on all of us.
Yes, we pay the price for those tariffs.
Walmart's chief financial officer telling CNBC, his name is John David Rainey, there probably will be cases where prices will go up for consumers. Regarding the impact of Walmart's prices of about 10% tax on all imports and 60% tax on Chinese imports, Rainey added that tariffs are inflationary for customers. It's not immediately clear how quickly these tariffs could go into effect. The odds of a 10% across-the-board tariff in 2025 are low. That is according to J.P. Morgan's chief U.S. economist, Michael Ferroli.
So they're saying that it's a low chance he'll put a 10% tariff on
Across the board.
Hold my beer. That's what last thing you want to do is tell that man you probably won't do it. This is a man flirting with, 1,000%,
Yes.
which is dramatic.
Or 2,000%,
Yes.
or 200%, or just,
Yeah.
I guess, whatever number he thinks is good. Here are three companies. The CEO of AutoZone, Philip Daniel, told analysts in September that tariff policies had ebbed and flowed, but if Trump implements more tariffs, we will pass those tariff costs back to the consumer. We generally raise prices ahead of that. So that's historically what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Columbia Sportswear CEO Tim Boyle told his analysts on an October earnings call the company is very concerned about the imposition of tariffs and that while Columbia is pretty good at managing them, trade wars are not good and not easy to win. He said the company is set to raise prices.
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very difficult to keep products affordable for Americans.
I like the usage of that phrase trade wars, as Tim Boyle said. Usually a war is fought between two sides or many sides, but they're fighting each other, look back in history. This is a one-sided war. This is a arbitrary raising of tariffs at the whims of a man who thinks he is king against countries who he loves to prop up their leaders and he loves to talk great about them, but then does this makes no sense whatsoever. There's no reason to go into another trade war with China, because we did it before. It didn't work. Like we said, I don't know why Biden didn't get rid of them, but this is a one-sided trade war being led by a guy who just speaks out of every side of his face, and it's going to end up hurting the American consumer.
It's going to make things cost more.
Yep.
The CEO of Stanley Black & Decker, Donald Allen, told his analysts in October that the company is evaluating a variety of different scenarios to plan for new tariffs. Obviously, coming out of the gate, there will be price increases associated with tariffs that we put into the market, adding that there's usually some type of delay given the processes that our customers have around implementing price. He also said they're going to consider moving out of China and into other countries like Mexico to reduce the impact of a 60% tariff on Chinese imported goods. Just a little side note here. Notice he did not say they're coming back to the U.S.
No,
they're going to go to Mexico.
Which I could see Trump directing a tariff towards them, his mass deportation, and I just honestly, I don't see why Mexico isn't going to be immune from a possible tariff. I mean, especially like with his statements on the wall, which Mexico never paid for, by the way.
No, it didn't.
Ever did. We did.
Yep.
We did. So I just feel like it's almost like any country with major manufacturing isn't safe because he'll just slap a tariff on them.
Well, and in talking to some of the folks that we've talked to over the last couple of months about how this works, there does appear to be a justification for strategic tariffs.
Yeah.
But not when he keeps talking about across the board tariffs on everything. And that is going to fix all of our problems. And that just isn't reality.
No, it really isn't reality at all. I mean, the cost of things, certain products are high. How do we fix them? I mean, I'm not going to tell you I know the magic cure. I don't, but tariffs isn't it. And we're hearing from companies who are run by, my guess, not bleeding heart liberals. At least in any case, they're not. They've said outwardly they're going to pass the cost of these tariffs on to the customers. They're not going to suck them up. They're not going to subtract them from the bottom line. We are going to pay for them.
We're going to pay for them
because they want to stay in business. Makes sense. It's America. Capitalism. Sure. Do your thing. But my big thing about this whole topic is when prices go up, he will somehow be walking through the raindrops of blame on supporters. They're going to find a reason to blame the Democrats, Joe Biden,
immigrants,
Kamala Harris, immigrants. They'll probably blame it on Hunter Biden's laptop. And I wish that was a joke. It's just how it works now. He does what he wants. It has a devastating effect on the people, but the people do not place the blame on him.
And don't forget, Elon essentially said that, yep, we're going to have some hardships.
Yep, 2 years.
Oh, just a couple of years of hardships.
Couple years of
America.
hardships. Yep.
Sorry about that. But then after that, everything's going to be ducky.
Yeah, and I'd love to know what those hardships are exactly going to be, because people are going through some hard times right now. So,
Donald Trump said in September that tariffs are the greatest thing ever invented, indicating his preference for tariffs as a domestic manufacturing catalyst. Economists rather largely agree tariffs will increase inflation, coming at a bad time as annual inflation is down from the four-decade high of over 9% to a still historically above average high of 2.6%. So I don't know. You may want to start, if you haven't already, get your Christmas shopping out of the way.
Right now.
Right now.
Like right.
And if you're considering buying a car.
And I am.
That might be something you want to do before the first of the year.
Oh, I can't do that. I got to pay for Christmas presents. I mean, yeah, we're going to get hit hard. And it almost seems like on purpose, because they can. And what are we going to do about it?
Well, there's that.
So it's very disappointing, because you just want to, you just as an American want to, I think for the most part, for most of us, should be able to pay our bills, live a good life, be comfortable. I'm not saying rich.
And isn't that most of our goals, is just to be comfy?
To just be out of paycheck to paycheck is a good place to be.
Yep.
But this will not make it easier. And this will not make it easier for all of us, regardless of who you voted for. And I'm just hoping that when people see the cold, hard truth, they might say, oh, maybe this wasn't the best idea.
Well, and again, it remains to be seen how these will be implemented. He said lots of things. He says lots of things.
Yeah.
And whether or not they will all come to fruition remains to be seen. But we will keep you updated.
Oh, yeah.
We'll keep you informed. Talking tariffs. When we return, is the big time heading for a Wisconsinite. Stay with us. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Hi there. I'm on my way, I'm making it. I've got to make it show, yeah.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Dr. Slide on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine, Wisconsin. You can always join us, call or text. It's the same number, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. After the 10:30 news, Dom Salvia, our friend and colleague, will be joining us for All the Best People. We'll look at some more of the latest cabinet nominees for the next Trump administration.
Just the best bunch of dudes.
There's another Wisconsin tie in there, too.
Awesome.
So we will be kicking that around with Dom after 10:33. But speaking about a Wisconsin connection and potentially really heading to the big time, thank you, Peter Gabriel. Wisconsin Public Radio says Wisconsin's Ben Wickler among Democrats rumored for the DNC chair.
I think this is great. I think Ben is fantastic. I love his energy. We had him on the show like a month ago, last month, and he's just a good dude. I like him, and I feel like he'll bring an Wisconsin energy to the. I mean, he has done wonders for the Wisconsin Democratic Party.
He really has,
especially in fundraising, because fundraising was always a problem with Democrats.
Yeah,
county by county, not easy, but. He has brought in a plan. He's brought in energy and focus, and he's gotten a lot of credit for that, too.
He has been head of the Wisconsin Democratic Party since 2019, widely respected in battleground politics. As you said, Greg, he's credited with massively expanding the party's fundraising capabilities, drawing in tens of millions in dollars to fuel state races, and keeping Wisconsin competitive in a year when Dems lost badly, but not as badly here in Wisconsin, and we picked up some seats.
No, and I mean, we also didn't, as far as national swing state, we didn't lose as badly as some other states did. I mean, it was a very tough election, and he won.
He did win, yes.
So, but the work that was put in through the Wisconsin Democratic Party in concert with the unions, in concert with people knocking on doors, there was an energy here. And that's going to keep going. And I'm not plumping for Ben Wickler right now. I just really like him. And I think that sort of Midwest down home attitude of like, let's get the work done.
And let's go knock on doors and talk to folks.
Exactly. Wisconsin's ground game is stellar. And
it's taken years to build it up to this point.
Yes. So I'm all in. I love this idea. I really hope it goes far. I think you need some. I think something we saw with Tim Walz's nomination as the VP is you saw a Midwest energy that people really attached to, and I think that Ben has that same energy, that wholesome, true-natured. Let's get the work done. Let's do this together. And yeah, I really hope the best for him.
After last week's loss, this is from obviously the week before.
Yeah.
Ben Wickler pointed to Wisconsin's narrower margin of loss compared to other swing states as a sign of relative organizational strength. Wickler also got acclaim from national Democratic leaders. He got a shout out at the DNC.
Mm-hmm.
This would be good for him, but then who takes his place here in Wisconsin? Although he's got, as you said, pretty good ground game established. There must be people that are ready to slide in there.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ben has already had this conversation with a few people on his own short list to say, look, if this happens, my plan, because I mean, when you work in this kind of industry, you're always looking up, and you have to, all right, I'm the chair of the party now. What's next? Who do I surround myself? That's great. Who do I trust? And who do I want to hand this over to? So I wouldn't be surprised if Ben already has that name in his mind and they've already started doing the work.
Well, and again, he has not been named head of the DNC yet.
No.
There are a couple of other people in the running.
No.
So it's not like this is a lock for Ben Wickler.
No, but Ben is also the type of person who plans. And when you plan, you want to make sure that you have a replacement in the wings. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least 1 to 2 names he'd be willing to be like, this is your person. I'm going to go take this. We're all going to take this to the next level. But yeah, I really do. And nothing against big states, but one thing I've learned in this election is that these swing states, Wisconsin, Midwestern states, we have a lot to offer. And we shouldn't be overlooked because we're not on a coast. Because we don't have a city with 3 to 10 million people in it. We have great things to offer as a region, as a state, and I think that Ben would be a great choice.
He would be a great representative. He really
Agreed.
would. And I just have always gotten a real common guy kind of feel from him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. There's nothing worse than, especially in campaigning politics. One thing when it's like government, but campaigning politics when someone takes themselves way too seriously and they think that they are the everything, the beginning, the end, the middle, all that in a bag of chips. You're like, dude, can you just take a packet and go knock on some doors already? And Ben is that total package. He's a guy who will knock on doors, but also
and he's done it. Good heavens.
but also make those huge phone calls to get huge amounts of money from people and organize gigantic events. So, I'm a big fan of him.
I am too. I think it would be a great pick. I
Mhm.
would. Again, I would be sad to see him leave Wisconsin, but
Yeah.
if he can take what we're doing here and bring it to a national model, that would not be a bad thing.
I don't disagree with that. Maybe bring the national office to Wisconsin.
Where does the DNC now?
Well, it's probably in D.C. Yeah, probably in D.C.
I would imagine so.
I have to imagine, yeah.
Just talking about Ben Wickler, the Wisconsin head of the Wisconsin Democrats, being considered to head the national Democratic National Committee.
Yep. And it is located in D.C.
It's in D.C.
Yep. And then Ben Wickler becomes of the he's no longer of the people, because apparently, according to Eric Hovde, whenever you move to D.C., you don't connect with the Wisconsin people anymore.
He would have been different.
You're
though.
right.
He would have been different.
Still no call to Tammy. All right.
Yeah, no, still no call to Tammy. And don't worry, he's going to be back in a decade anyway. We're going to see him again. News is coming up next. And then when we return, Dom Salvia will be here for all the best people around 427. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
So much larger than life. I'm gonna watch you growing. Big time. Big time. My car's getting bigger. Big time. My house getting bigger. Big time. My arms getting bigger. Big time. I'm around. Big time. My belly's getting bigger. Big time. My bank account. Big time. Look at my circumstance. Big time. On the verge of my big.
Yeah, there we go. 1, 2, check, check, check. We good? Good for me. Awesome. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calviente on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us. The number is the same if you call or if you text 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that used to be Twitter. After the 11 o'clock news, we're going to talk to Emily Pritzkow. She's the executive director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council about this new big solar project that is getting underway in Wisconsin. Lots of union labor involved in this. That is a good thing. So we'll be talking to Emily about that. We will wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is Insurance Fraud Edition. Right now, though, very delighted to have our noisy friend in studio with us.
Have you ever been in a radio room before?
Let's just knock some more things around, Tom Salvia. No, how are you?
I am awesome. Good to see you guys. Thank you for having me. It's been way too long.
It really
I
has.
agree.
Yes,
It's
yes.
good to see you, and thanks for
Likewise.
coming down this much ahead of your own show.
It is my pleasure.
Appreciate it. All kinds of things we're going to cover in this half hour, Dom. And we wanted to do another round. We've been doing this as we get more cabinet appointees nominated or whatever under consideration. All the best people.
Usually the best people.
All the best people.
Hire
Donald-
the best people.
Donald Trump said that his first time around, and now he's trying to outdo himself, apparently. All the best people, round two, starting with Wisconsin's own Sean Duffy,
We did it.
We got there.
We're in.
the real world guy.
The
And the-
MTV guy.
And the road rules, that's what makes him, as Pat Kreitlow said, qualified for Secretary of Transportation. He knows what it's like.
To drive.
Cars,
To drive.
Yeah.
On roads.
roads, they rule.
Roads
I mean,
rule.
He obviously was in office here in Wisconsin for many years.
And
He was
then
elected up north.
then he wasn't, because he had to go make money to support a growing family.
Very large family, 9 children.
9 children.
Wow. And his wife also part of the Fox
Family.
lineup. Yes.
Well, and
yes.
that's and Real World is where they met. They met on MTV together.
So romantic.
Yeah, it really just
See.
makes you, the
Gen Xers taken over. I mean, come on. The Department of Transportation, like 55,000-ish employees. That's a
It's
pretty
a big agency.
Pretty big
it's a
agency.
huge agency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pete Buttigieg, big shoes to fill. I think Pete's a capable, intelligent guy. And Duffy, he was a DA, he's an attorney. It's not
Right.
like he's not a dumb man.
No.
But I mean, can you go anywhere from besides Fox News for filling these positions?
I think this is what is at least a second pick from the Fox News pool.
Well, Pete Hegseth
yeah,
was the first one.
yeah, and he's
And-
Oh,
Yeah, that's a whole, I know.
I mean,
That's a whole other pick we're not even going to get around
I
to
mean,
today.
Oh man. So, the Duffmeister.
Doofington.
I just feel like this is a reward for Rupert because he's rewarding 2 of Rupert's employees.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be where he is without Fox.
Which is funny because how many times in the past 10 years has he railed against Fox on various social media forums for not being nice to me?
not nice enough.
He rails on everybody
Exactly.
eventually. You know what we should be doing is taking the we'll call it dead pool, the rejection pool. Like, of all these folks that are going to be now working with him in this administration, which ones of them at the end of this administration, we'll talk about how much of a fascist he is and how terrible he was to work for, and how many of these folks will Trump in the future say, just a coffee boy. I barely knew the man.
I don't know, because I really think what he didn't do last time, he didn't fill it with Trump loyalists, because there was no such really thing as a Trump loyalist, at least at that level of business and government. Now he's had 4+ years to cultivate, and mine from those individuals who are like, you do you, boss, whatever you want.
Have any of these picks that Trump has now put forward anybody he hasn't seen on the television? Right, because aren't all of them are always out there on TV, like
In some way, shape, or form.
right?
Yeah.
But it's like,
Gabbard,
but it's like he sees him on TV and goes, oh, that's central casting
central
right there.
casting.
God, I
Because he
forgot.
loves that. He loves that.
And he picked Matt Gaetz? Ugh. Sorry, not attractive. I'll say it. I said it out loud.
But to your earlier point, Dom, I don't know that, and I agree with Greg, these people are all in. They are never going to come forward in a year or 2 years or 4 years and say, he was worse than I ever expected.
Yeah.
No, but they're never going to last. I think the bigger thing is we should make a list of all of them and then see who's going to go first.
Didn't MSNBC Maddle started doing that like in the first administration, and then the board just got like
Yes.
too big. It was just
Yes.
too long. It was like,
Oh my God,
we're
there
gonna
goes-
stop doing this because there's too many names. We don't even know what's happening.
There's another chief of staff.
Honestly, I
another
think-
one of these.
I think unless they are to go by way of criminal indictment or I don't want to say death, but like I think the first one to go, honestly, will be Elon. I think Elon and he will be too much for each other. It's too much ego
In one room.
small place. And it's just not going to. I mean, Elon's already. It seems like he's already overstaying his work. Someone said he broke the record for nights stayed over at Mar-a-Lago by Kerry Lake. He's there all the time. He's everywhere with him. He's going to events. He's like he's on
They're
that
going
call
to
with
the-
Russia. He talked to the Iranian ambassador.
They're going to be at the launch of SpaceX either tonight or tomorrow.
yeah, because Donald Trump can't.
I mean, don't get him started on the rockets. He's very impressed with the rockets and the paint job on the rockets. It's really something else.
You know who else loves a paint job on a rocket? My grandpa. He'll talk about that for a while too.
When naming Sean Duffy to head the Department of Transportation, Donald Trump said, quote, he will prioritize excellence, competence, competitiveness, and beauty. When rebuilding America's highways, tunnels, bridges, and airports, he will ensure our ports and dams serve our economy without compromising our national security, and he will make our skies safe again by eliminating DEI for pilots and air traffic controllers.
So we talked about this today on Pat's show. We talked about the vicious, terrible anti-Americanness that's DEI as far as our pilots go. Either one of you, take a guess. Just of pilots in major airlines, how many of them are just black?
2%.
Oh, that's 3.9. 1.6 is Asian. 6 point something is Asian, and then like 1 point something is Latino / Hispanic. 94.3% are white, and 10% of all of that are women. So, really, is DEI really ruining transportation? The skies above.
Are white men that much better at flying than everybody else? Come on, you got to be kidding me. Of course, it's not. It doesn't match the rest of the makeup of this country by far.
Well, and when I think about the airplane news we've had over the last year and a half or so, it doesn't seem to have been midair crashes. It's been midair doors blowing off.
Well, thank you, Boeing.
Which seems to me not to be a DEI problem.
Yeah, and that was he said he goes with Pete Buttigieg here was doors blowing up. I don't think the government even had anything to do with it. I think that's a design flaw and an assembly flaw, and that's a private business flaw.
Yes.
So yeah, also that's so weird. Beauty. We're in beautiful tunnels. I don't even know what that means. Make me
Beautiful.
understand.
It'll be very, very beautiful.
And how exactly are these tunnels and our port? How are these going to be funded? Oh, that's right. Didn't we pass an infrastructure bill?
Which has probably got to get repealed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Well, then how are you going to pay for all the beautiful tunnels?
It'll be the tariffs.
Tariffs, Tom. Get on board.
But are we going to use the tariffs to help pay for childcare? I mean, how much tariff profit are we going to split around here?
That's why we have to like raise it to 2,000%.
Okay.
Because tariffs fix everything.
Yeah.
Tariffs fix everything.
The Charlie Kirk comment. Remember Charlie Kirk? If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Charlie Kirk, big influencer on the right.
I know he is.
Yeah, very gummy smile too.
And what is Charlie's area of expertise?
He's Charlie Kirk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got a PhD in Charlie Kirk.
Good to know.
Yeah, he's very good at talking at people.
Sean Duffy, according to the Washington Post, has little transportation experience, except he's driven on roads.
Yes.
But that's not unusual for people nominated to run the departments. Current Secretary Pete Buttigieg had previously been mayor, but past presidents have opted to buttress their picks with a deputy more deeply steeped in policy issues. Okay. He's going to have to work with regulators about Elon wants...
I'm going to stop you there. No, he won't.
Elon wants his self-driving cars. So he's going to be tasked with working with Tesla to make sure that Elon can get all his perfectly safe, nothing wrong here self-driving vehicles.
This is a reminder that the Cybertruck alone this year has been recalled 6 times. All right.
No speed limits.
Yeah.
I mean, can we just embrace the mega outlet? How about this? No speed limits. Come on, Duffy, be there with
Dom,
me.
we are white men in our 40s,
50s.
whatever. We should be the first ones up on the mountain. We should be planning a January 6th just in case, and I can't do it. Like, I don't understand.
The other thing, too, again, according to this article in the Washington Post, the FAA has tried to fine Elon's SpaceX over allegations that it has failed to follow rocket launch licensing. That's provoked a clash with Musk and his allies. And the other thing that's going on, he wants to launch rockets 3 times a day from Texas. Elon does. And there are all kinds of EPA problems with this. The launch site is surrounded by a wetland. And so the water that they're using to cool the rocket engines, they're releasing into these wetlands. What could go wrong?
I mean, it's totally fine.
I'm surprised Elon didn't just call up Greg Abbott and say, hey, take care of this.
Buy the wetlands. Elon, you got the money.
Well,
I mean, we don't regulation. I mean, how many licenses do you need to put a rocket up? I mean, come on. One should
Shouldn't 2 be enough?
Sufficient.
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
2.
Just 2? Okay, 2.
2.
Well, we'll double it up. 2.
It's really a lot of burden.
And then Elon might think about the clash of personality. Elon's going to stand up. I'm just going to cut $2 trillion. I mean, okay, where, how, what?
Yeah.
How? I mean, these numbers. Oh, we're gonna deport everybody. Now, I'm going to get rid of inflation. I mean, these are the promises of this administration. These are the promises that got them elected. I don't see how that's going to happen.
No, it's impossible. And I shouldn't say that. I take that back. It's not impossible. But to cut $2 trillion is incredibly difficult to do. Economists are already saying that, and it's not going to bode well for the American people. Getting rid of undocumented workers is going to gut punch this economy, and people aren't going to take those jobs. And then finally, we don't want zero inflation. 0% inflation is bad for the economy. 2% is where almost any economist who's ever been on television will tell you that's where you want it to be.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. And it's at 2.9 right now. And that's not great, but it's certainly not what they want you to think, which is like, oh, it's like 35, 40%. No, it's 2.9%. And that's a little bit raised. But this whole notion.
It was 9%.
It was, yeah.
It's going down.
Yeah. Yes.
Again, but those previous increases are still baked into the cake, which of course, and that's not going back. That's not going to get unwound anytime soon. The prices will continue to increase. They don't decrease. But it is amazing how the right, and in some ways, and on the left as well, the perception of how the economy has changed since the election. The righties are like, oh, this is great. The economy is
good.
awesome. And the Dems are like, oh, this sucks. So I think that, but I don't want to fall into that trap. There's certainly people's personal economics. Everyone's got their own thing. But then there's the gauges, the GDP, the unemployment rate, interest rate, inflation, those kinds of things.
Yep.
Those things are measured by independent agencies and put out there. We can argue about whether or not the measurements are accurate or not, but those are the historical numbers, and those things are going to remain the same. So the inflation as it is today, as the Republicans look at it, say, well, it's not so bad now that Trump's elected.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same as it was before Trump got elected.
Exactly.
So, but I don't want the Dems to also fall into the trap. While these tariffs could be very terrible, cutting $2 trillion out of the government budget could be terrible, but we won't know until that happens. And when that happens, we'll see it reflected in the GDP, in the BLS numbers, in the interest rates. Then we'll be able to gauge and say, I got a bad feeling about this. I'm like, Han Solo here. Got a bad feeling about this, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
We're going to continue our conversation with Dom, Salvia, and all the best people around 19. It's Matenaer On Air. Stay with us. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvinator coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us, call or text at the same number, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Putz de Leon continues to actively ruin. 1 hour from now, we will wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the insurance fraud edition. So stick around for that. Delighted to be joined in studio by our friend and colleague, Dom Salvia, who has his own show across the network from 4 to 6 p.m. We were talking about all the best people coming into the next Trump administration, and we've spent a little time talking about Matt Gaetz as Attorney General and reports that he had sex with a 17-year-old girl and allegedly took her across state lines and used Venmo to pay for it.
Wasn't the subject matter in the Venmo like for college?
Oh, was that what it was?
Well,
extracurriculars?
Yeah. We know all about it because the guy who tried to strike a deal didn't get help. So he said, you know what? I'm going to sell you out from start to finish.
He's in jail.
He's in jail. But he helped with the case because he wasn't going to get any protection.
Yeah, exactly. We have a couple of clips from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, a highly moral man.
Oh, indeed.
Very moral man. Calvin, let's play clip number 1 from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, weighing in on Matt Gaetz's nomination.
Gaetz, as you know, had been facing a House Ethics Committee investigation over numerous allegations, including one that he had sex with a 17-year-old. We should note that Gaetz denies that allegation. On Wednesday, you said this about the House Ethics Committee's investigation.
The Speaker of the House is not involved in that, can't be involved in that, so I'm not really the person probably to answer that question.
But on Friday, you did want something to do with it. You said the House Ethics Committee report should not be released. In between those two comments, you did speak with President-elect Trump. Did he encourage you to change your position and to squash the House Ethics Committee report from being released?
No, he did not. The president and I have literally not discussed one word about the ethics report, not once. And I've been with him quite a bit this week between Washington and Mar-a-Lago, and last night in Madison Square Garden. But
yeah, that was a weird photo, too. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Him and Kid Rock.
And
was that?
Dana White.
Dana White. It was just, that was a real brain disconnect there. Yeah, we don't need to see the report.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine.
It's all good because he's a private citizen now, Dom.
Well, of course, he wasn't then. The guy resigns 2 days before this thing's going to get released, and Trump puts him on for Attorney General?
Yeah.
I mean, so this is the opposite world, right? Let's put the anti-vaxxer in charge of the vaccines.
Yes.
Let's put what did Mitt Romney refer to Tulsi Gabbard as? A Russian propagandist.
asset.
I believe a traitor, he also said. That's the Republican talking about Republican. Let's put her in charge of DNI. I mean, what? This is exactly as the speaker has alluded to. These are not burdensome, troublesome picks. They're there to shake it up. That's what they're there for.
That's the only thing.
That's the only thing. Disruptors.
I already feel shaken up as it is. But here's a question. If Matt Gaetz gets confirmed, he's then a public citizen again. I feel like he's well and within the rights of we should know what's going on with citizens who work for the government.
Well, I do not understand in any way, shape, or form how someone who has these kinds of allegations against him and you're going to make him the most powerful attorney in the country.
There's a adjudicated rapist re-entering the White House.
There's that.
Are you really shocked?
No, actually.
No, I mean,
and Gaetz it would not be alone because Pete Hegseth signed
Also,
an NDA
and paid.
and paid her off to not talk about it. And Robert Kennedy Jr. just got Olivia Nunzi fired from the Times for having an affair.
I mean, but
not to mention Donald Trump has
does video sex really count? I mean, is that really an affair?
Yeah, folks, let us know your thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts on that one. Also, let's not forget adjudicated rapist, but also his own set of, the Stormy Daniels thing, which is an NDA, paid her off for sex. I mean, to say that these are moral individuals isn't even laughable anymore. It's just what rock are you under? What are you smoking? Why can't you accept reality? All those questions apply, and they can all be, I don't know. But the thing is it's just absolutely ridiculous. And then Mike Johnson goes on to say they've never done this before. And Jake Tapper says, yes, they have, because there's proof.
Released a report on an ex-congressman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that is not without precedent. That's happened before. In the couple of minutes we have left, I just want to share this from Wisconsin's own Ron Johnson.
Oh.
Talking about Matt Gaetz. He said he hasn't seen the findings from the allegations that Gaetz sexually assaulted a minor. I know he's got potentially some issues out there.
Some issues.
I don't know what they particularly are. I haven't seen the ethics report, so he'll go through the confirmation process, and I'll keep an open mind. What do these guys read? Do they read anything?
Oh, they don't read.
Oh, that's the secret.
That's the secret.
Is that the secret to a happy life?
So you don't have to be aware of the facts. If you don't read it, if you don't know, then you can claim ignorance. I didn't see Donald Trump's tweets. I don't know anything about it.
I don't know nothing. I just work here. I mean, it's...
Ignorance is bliss.
Oh, God.
The expectations. When we have people like Mike Johnson, who stands up there, pretends to be and claims to be this righteous individual, and then gives a pass on folks that would normally be considered not very righteous, can we just discount their righteousness?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, thank
that'd
you.
be a good
Done.
starting point.
Thank you. We'll start there.
Dom Salvia, join him this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. across the network. Stay with us. News is next. You are listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the statewide, countrywide, potentially global Civic Media Radio Network.
Good morning, Emily. Can you hear me all right?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. We come back in about 2 minutes.
Okay. Am I gonna be recorded on video as well, or is it just sound?
We're live on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, sounds good.
Jane says.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenhoff coming to you live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that used to be Twitter. Just a reminder that we have a new updated Civic Media app.
Oh, baby.
If you have not downloaded it yet, I encourage you to do so. It's absolutely free. Go to your app store and look for Civic Media, CIVIC, Civic Media, and download the Civic Media app. It also allows you to select the communities across the state you want to get news stories from. Our news team is doing a great job of curating things depending upon where you are in Wisconsin. So check it out, the Civic Media app. What are you smiling at?
Would you say it's absolutely free?
I would say, oh, nice. It's an absolutely free app. All right.
Thank you.
He's happy now.
So proud of myself.
Very excited to have our next guest join us. She is the executive director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council. Emily Pritzkow is here. Good morning, Emily. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Jane. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk solar. This announcement came out last week on November 15th. The Apple River Solar Project, a utility-scale solar development in northwestern Wisconsin, has announced the beginning of major construction. It's one of the first utility-scale clean energy developments to break ground after the agreement between Wisconsin's 4 major utilities and state building trade unions in March. So, Emily, what does this mean? What is this all about, and how can people get involved or find out more?
Yeah, it's an exciting time here in Wisconsin. I think the reason we are kind of shouting about Apple River from the rooftops is because it's one of our first projects that is breaking ground, that is being enabled by the Inflation Reduction Act, which has been, I mean, no pun intended, a groundbreaking piece of policy that our members have really benefited from across the state here in Wisconsin and across the country. It's also great news for the area up in Northwest Wisconsin where Apple River is going to be operating. It means $36 million in direct economic impact for those communities, and an additional $10 million in tax revenue for Polk County and those local governments up there. And then jobs for our members, union jobs, family supporting union jobs, jobs where our registered apprenticeships can exist, where we have members earning as they learn on their way to become a journey worker on these new solar projects. And then operational in late 2025, where it's going to generate enough electrical usage to power an estimated 26,000 homes every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. And I always personally, someone who graduated from trade school. I love hearing about apprenticeship work, about union work, especially like those trade jobs, because those are so very important and vital, and we need to get that information out there more for young people, especially.
I couldn't agree more. That's a big part of my role here at the State Building Trades is getting the word out about those jobs. Because as you probably know, Greg, people call them the best kept secret, and that's really a shame. These should not be a secret.
No.
In some cases, these are six-figure careers in a skilled trade, really stable work, always in demand, excellent benefits, healthcare, flexibility in your schedule, the opportunity to see different places all over your state or country or world. So pretty neat opportunity.
Well, and the thing when you learn these skills too, Emily, is you can take them with you forever. These kinds of skills, whether you're, a laborer or a carpenter or an electrician or something, you take that with you wherever you go.
Correct. And you're always learning.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just such an It's such an asset. It really is. And as you've said too, Emily, you get to learn as you're getting paid if you get in as an apprentice. When are you too old to become an apprentice?
You're never too old
Nope.
to become an apprentice.
Never?
We have apprentices that start in their 50s. And we have apprentices, I think our median age, I'll have to look at that. I believe it's right around 30, because we do get a fair amount of folks that come right out of high school. They're like, this is what I want to do. I know, but we have a lot of people that enter the trades after they've maybe gone to a 4-year institution, or they've gone straight into the workforce right out of high school, and they're maybe looking at starting a family or looking around, that the career they thought that they would be in when they're hitting around age 30 is not exactly what they had hoped it would be, and they come into the trades that way. So
I came in my late 30s. So
You did.
yes,
And you went to college.
I went to college. I have a degree in political science. Sorry, Mom. And
She's so disappointed in you.
but I had a job. I got let go from that job. I didn't want to work in that environment anymore, and so I went back to school to MATC. I got an apprenticeship in barbering. I learned how to cut hair. It was a 2-year program, and as you said, that is training you can't take away from me. That's something that's in me forever. And I think, as you said, Emily, best kept secret shouldn't be the case. The amount of jobs that are out there that are available to people in this country, when we're talking about job growth, so many of those jobs lie within the trades, and they are just always going to be there. I didn't say a lot of them. Many of those jobs are recession proof too. People are always going to need a plumber, electrician, barber, those kinds of things. And what you do is fantastic. I'm a huge fan.
Well, and I think too that those are some things that they're going to be really difficult to turn into robotics.
Yes.
Right? And because that seems to be, the way that we're going in so many areas, we're going to have everything handled by robots now, but some of those jobs just can't be done that way. They have to be done by humans.
Yeah.
that is absolutely correct. Yes, these are have been, and we've been operating for, honestly, our model is hundreds of years old, but operating in Wisconsin as the unions today, in some cases over 130 years, and there's a reason for that longevity.
If you're just joining us, Emily Pritzkow is our guest. She's the executive director of the Wisconsin Building Trades Council, and we're talking about this new announcement about a major utility solar project developments in the Apple River area. And you had mentioned too, Emily, that this is going to bring a lot of jobs to an area of Wisconsin that probably really needs them.
Yes, this project itself, which we're partnered with the Bolt Company, which is a union contractor, means 150 union construction jobs for our members. But when you look at statewide, we just had a recent study that was put out by the Midwest Economic Policy Institute and UW-Whitewater, and it showed that these types of projects that come up through the IRA are going to have an enormous impact on the state. So if Apple River and Northwest Wisconsin is not where you see yourself in your new career, they're popping up all over. For every $1 billion that is invested in clean energy in Wisconsin, that means about 2,700 jobs and about 1.6 billion in economic activity across the state. So this is big news, and this is why we're using Apple River as an example to talk about what this is going to mean all over.
When we talk about these topics of like of jobs in America, jobs for Americans, I mean all people who can qualify for these jobs, honestly, this makes me so happy because it just makes sense. You put the investment in, and you're going to get an ROI, both in capital from the people and the money that it's generating, and just all the things you get from it, from, building shops around the area because it becomes a more, there's more to do there.
Right.
It just makes sense. And I'm not going to get political on this one. You're welcome, Emily. But like when people try to stand in the way of it, it makes no sense. We've got the money. Let's use it. Let's invest in our people. And let's see what happens, and we're going to grow.
Well, and we have talked, Emily, to we have an oil and gas expert that joins us every once in a while called Matt Randolph. He's called Mr. Global. He's been in oil and gas for 30 years. He has his own oil company, but he is very much about solar and greener, cleaner energies in order to continue to fulfill the needs of Americans. It's just the way to go, rather than drill, baby, drill for everything. That is not the answer to everything.
Correct. This is kind of going to be the new generation of our workforce in a lot of ways. And I think it makes it what is already should be a really appealing career for young people all the more appealing. It's also become extremely appealing, again, for the so-called free market. I mean, we just had a historic announcement this spring from the 4 major utilities in the state that have chosen moving forward for all renewable projects to use union labor. Why? Because it's a good business decision for them. The outcomes with union labor are second to none as far as our efficiency, our workforce, our skill level, our safety. But it also means great things for the state in the sense of what you were saying, Greg, that when you hire local workers to construct these projects, the skills they learn on the job stay in Wisconsin. They don't travel elsewhere in the country and take all that knowledge with them, but also the money they spend. They're property taxpayers. They're members of our school board. They have families here. So the family supporting wages they earn working on these projects stay in Wisconsin, and that's a win-win for everyone. I mean,
absolutely. It's what they're earning is going back into the economy and supporting other local businesses.
Exactly correct.
I love it. I love it.
Emily, if someone is listening and maybe has a teenager or a frustrated college student at home, what would you recommend that they do?
Well, our website is wisconsinbuildingtrades.org. For most of these projects, we have 4 trades. So if you're interested in specifically working on solar projects, that would be the Carpenters Union, the Laborers Union, the International Union of Electrical Workers, and the operating engineers. So come learn about apprenticeships and join us.
Drive a crane. I did it once. It's really great. Emily Pritzkow has been our guest. Thank you so much, Emily. We will talk to you soon. Take care.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back. You are listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and the Board Lord coming to you from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. You can call, you can text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that Putz de Leon continues to actively ruin. Coming up after the 11:30 news, Paul Trebian is going to be in studio with us. He's the president and CEO of the International Institute of Wisconsin, which puts on the Holiday Folk Fair International every year.
I love the holiday.
I
folk
know,
fair.
I do too, and it is coming up. It's always right around Thanksgiving. So we're going to get all the details from Paul about what you can expect at this year's Holiday Folk Fair. And we'll wrap up the show as we always do now with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today, insurance fraud edition. You're going to want to stick around for that. We wanted to mention this because this makes me really sad. Obviously, this is sad anytime it happens to a business owner. But Oscar's Frozen Custard on Moreland Road in Waukesha is a total loss after a fire overnight. From the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Claire Reed, Oscar's Frozen Custard Waukesha destroyed early this morning. Town of Brookfield Fire Department Assistant Chief Tony D'Amico says they responded about 12:15 after a passerby called 911 to report the fire. Apparently, it started somewhere in the roof and ceiling area of the custard shop. The cause is currently unknown, but fire damage caused the roof to collapse into the building, and the building cannot be repaired now and is considered a total loss. That's really tragic.
Oscar's is a legendary, iconic
It's been there
place.
a long time.
And they're all, I mean, there's a couple places and they have wonderful burgers. They have just great
they have
atmosphere.
great corn dogs. every great once in a while, if I don't make it to the state fair, do you ever get a cravings for something that's just kind of like, I don't know where that came from, but I must have it now.
Yes.
That's where I would go for corn dogs. Oscars. They do still have other locations, Greg, as you mentioned, in Milwaukee. There's one on South 108th Street, and then in Franklin on South 27th Street. A social media post from Oscars said that they will be open today. So maybe you want to go get some, go get something to eat, pick up something from the other Oscars, and show them some support today.
Absolutely. I remember going to Oscars as a kid. It was before, well, Culver's was around at that point because I'm not that old, but Oscars and Murph's, those were the two places my family and Cops for big burgers. Always had like those big burgers.
A burger as big as your head.
Oh, I love it so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that maybe if I don't know about the situation, I know the building is unusable, but maybe they can rebuild there or they'll get another location. I don't know, but it's a shame.
It is a shame. Absolutely. And again, the cause of this fire as of right now is undetermined. I'm sure they will get more details when they become available. But yeah, if you can go and maybe go get a corn dog today. You know you want one.
I think Jane wants a corn dog.
There should be corn dogs for everyone.
Calvin, have you ever been to Oscars? Do you know of their loveliness?
I can't say that I've ever been there, but it's definitely a landmark that I'm used to seeing when I drive past.
Yeah. Oh,
I know.
It's just
it's a shame. I guess on the plus side, no one was hurt. You know, this did happen after midnight, so at least no one was there and no one got hurt. But again, you're going to have, workers now that are going to be scrambling, I would imagine, and right before the holidays.
I'm hoping maybe they can go to other locations. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that didn't even occur to me until this moment, right before the holidays, when people need the money and the hours most. And
so go support your local Oscars.
Yes, please.
Again, there's one at 2362 South 108th Street, and in Franklin, at 7041 South 27th Street. And look for their social media posts from Oscars if they have any updated information. Again, just talking about the Oscars in Waukesha on Moreland Road, essentially destroyed by an overnight fire.
And if you get something, whether it's custard, whether it's a burger, or a corn dog, take a picture of yourself and send it to us, or put it on social media. Support them.
Yes, that's
and
a great
tag us.
idea.
We'd love to see you supporting local here, especially for, like I said, an iconic, in my opinion, southeastern Wisconsin business. So
the one we had in Hartford was the Pines.
Oh, really? Was it like burgers as big as your head type of thing?
But it was a much smaller, it was a
Yeah.
the drive-through with the car hops, and that was the only game I know. That was the only game in town for a long time.
Oh, boy.
And I had gone back to visit once to see my mother, and she wanted to go there. And I kid you not, a guy brought his girlfriend, and they wanted to taste 4 different samples of ice cream.
Yeah.
And then they left. That was like their date. Come out with me, baby. I'll take you out for some ice cream samples.
Well, it's small. It's a small dining experience. It's
Very
like
tiny plates.
It's like a chef's menu
It's a tiny plate experience
for the tiniest of spoons.
for the tiniest of spoons. All right, we send our best to Oscars and the folks at Oscars and all the employees, and go get a corn dog or a burger or something today.
God, I'm hungry now. Thanks a lot.
Share the photos. You can always send them to us. You can send almost anything to us.
Yeah.
At Jane Says, JANESAYS, Jane Says at civicmedia.us, including if you ever have a thing, which should not be, that's where you want to send it as well.
Nice.
News is coming up next, and then when we return, we are talking all things holiday folk fairs. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around? And then worst of all, you never call baby when you say you will. But I love you still, I need you more than anyone, darling. You know that I have from the start. So build me up, buttercup, don't break my heart. You are my toy, but I could be the boy you adore if you just let me know. Although you are true, I'm attracted to you all the more. Why do I need you so? Baby, baby, try to find a little time. I'll make you happy. I'll be home. I'll be beside the phone waiting for you. Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around? And then worst of all, you never call baby when you say
Good morning. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calviente on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park here in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Or leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up at 11:51, as always, we'll wrap up today's show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it's Insurance Fraud Edition. It's a good one. You may want to stick around for that. Excited to have in studio with us Dr. Paul Trebian is our guest. We saw you last year around this time. President and CEO of the International Institute of Wisconsin, which produces Holiday Folk Fair International. Good morning, Paul. Thanks so much for driving down to join us in Racine.
Yeah, good morning. It's great to be here.
I can't believe it's this time already. The Holiday Folk Fair kicks off Friday.
Well, it just seems like we did it last year.
It does.
Right away.
It really does.
Yeah, it's really good. It takes all year to plan it and do things, so we're real excited to get this going this year.
So where will it be held, just for folks who are not sure?
Well, it's going to be at the Exposition Center in Wisconsin State Fair Park, and we have it there all the time. We have the same layout, so there's some familiarity with it, and we have some differences through the theme. So it's going to be great at State Fair Park.
There's always lots of parking there too.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the theme for this year's folk fair?
Well, the theme is celebrate the culture of traditional art. And then, of course, traditional desserts is the food this year. Yes.
All
Yes.
about the desserts.
That's art in of itself. Please and thank you.
That is very special to me, too, the art.
Well, and I can by what you're wearing, because I know we talked about this the last time that you came out. For people who are watching in the live stream, and it's really so beautiful, please explain the meaning behind what you're wearing.
Well, this is our traditional dress. That was the theme last year. So this is our regalia, and it's all about remembering, and it's full of art. When you look at it, you'll see symbols of eagle, symbols of shark. And so I'm Shark Clan, Wushkitan, Eagle House, Chak, and my name is Dekikte, which is long seafaring bird. So it's all about remembering your mother and your grandmother and honoring your father and your grandfather.
And the beadwork is so beautiful.
Oh, my mother did this. I'm glad you noticed. Now, what's really important about that is that because you did notice it and you honored it, you actually honor my mother. So thank you so much. Thank you.
But
Goodness sheesh, that's our biggest word.
I'm delighted to honor your mother. That's not something you do on a machine.
Yes, all by hand.
The how painstaking that must be. That's really a skill.
And that's one of the reasons why the traditional art is a theme, and it's so exciting to me because it's so near and dear to my heart. I remember my mother, and we have other cultures that have similar meanings and phenomenon behind their art. So coming out the Holiday Folk Fair, you get to see all that and start to look for the similarities and the differences, and we can celebrate those.
And that's one of the things too, is that, Wisconsin is so culturally diverse. There's so many different groups of individuals who are here. And when you go to the folk fair, I implore people, what do you know about yourself? Are you German? Are you Polish? Are you indigenous? Are you whatever? Find where your booth is, find where your quote unquote your people are, and find out a little bit about yourself, because I think, especially for people of European descent, we don't celebrate that a lot. We don't know a lot about our own culture. And I think when we learn about where we come from, even just a little bit, we then can build places of respect for other people who celebrate their culture. I think that's very, very important. I think the Holiday Folk Fair plays a really big role in that, both in the celebratory. I love desserts, but also seeing the artwork, the clothing, and just the interactions. I think it's so much more than just a Holiday Folk Fair. It's a really great experience.
Yeah, I love the phrase that I hear at Holiday Folk Fair, which is, come and dance, maybe. Come see, dance, taste, and then learn.
Yeah.
And so, dance, taste, learn. That is such a neat way to think about it. And you're absolutely right. If we actually know where we came from, it kind of points a direction of where we're going. Because if you take what the past was, intersect where you're currently at, it'll give you a vector of where you're headed. And that's what my grandmother always taught me, that if you want to be more like the past, you'll start changing your choices. And sometimes that is something that we need. Why reinvent the wheel?
They got some things right then.
They did
Yeah.
get some things right.
Yeah.
So where do you get my sister and I went to the Holiday Folk Fair last year and had a wonderful time. And what we really enjoyed was the dance program. Do these dancers come from all over the world?
Well, we have local groups, and they're very dedicated, and they pass on their values. This year, we're bringing back the international feel to it. We have a dance group from Croatia. I believe they are called the Folk Ensemble Lindo band, and then we also have out of state from Colorado, the Rocky Mountain Express Cloggers. So we're going to be starting to bring groups that are professional from outside the United States and more within the United States as well. So this is the beginning of getting back to that. It's really neat to see that. I went to another folk festival recently in Utah, and a bunch of groups from outside the United States were participating. That's how we got the contact. And so it's really neat. Our groups here have the touch going back to their roots in Europe. And they have really a good following here. And if we continue to do that, it'll keep it going for generations to come.
Well, and it was just so interesting to see how differing the styles are and how differing the music is. And you go from a very ethereal type of performance to heavy drumming and and it was just it just felt good. If you're just joining us, Paul Trebian is our guest. He's the president and CEO of the International Institute of Wisconsin, which produces the Holiday Folk Fair International, and that is kicking off at State Fair Park in West Allis this Friday, and it runs through Sunday. We've been talking about the art, Paul. We've been talking about the dance, a little bit about food. Food is another one of the big draws.
I think that's something that I always get a comment when people are walking through the door, like, I can hardly wait to see if my favorite food is still there. And they go, you see the kids run to it. They're supposed to be, not running so much, but the excitement is what you see in the kids. And I see it in the faces of the adults as well. So the food is a good draw. It really does put a stake in the ground, like you had said before. It's part of the culture. You get to taste what has been passed down. And I certainly do have my sweet favorites.
I was just going to ask,
what are your favorites?
What's your favorite? And is it like State Fair in and of itself, where you know that there's going to be something coming this year that you haven't tried, or is there like new stuff happening this year, or is just there's tried and true desserts or tried and true foods, and there's like, oh, this year I'm going to try something from the Polish stand. Let's see, what do you like?
Well, what I like is, as you can see, that I'm Native Alaskan. However, I do have a German background as well. And so I like to go for the German desserts. And my grandmother always made a really good German cake. So I always look for the treats from the German food. And that just kind of brings back memories. Like, especially like there's so much going on. I'm so busy at the fair. I take time, go to the desserts, sit down and relax and think about my grandmother on that side of the family. And so that's why I go. And I think that's another thing too, is that when people go there, like you said, find your heritage, your culture, and to begin to taste and learn about that. See how you can get involved in preserving your culture and heritage, and talk to people who are next to you and say, this is my value. Is your value the same? And sometimes they are, sometimes they're different. But what I like about Holiday Folk Fair is that we sit there and we celebrate our differences, which is something we need right now.
More than ever.
Definitely celebrate them and understand that we all have them. And that is what makes us really wonderful. And
Absolutely.
Great, so.
Tickets are $13 in advance, $16 at the gate for ages 8 to 61. And if you're 62 or older with an ID, $13 at the gate. Children 7 and under and all military personnel with a military ID are admitted at no charge. We will put all the links in our show notes after the show is over if you would like to get some tickets in advance, and then a link to your website too, so they can check out some of the more specific things, some of the food, some of the dancers, some of the events. There's a big worship service on Sunday too.
Yes, we do have worship service. Sometimes it's just a prayer service. It depends on availability. But I really do think that that is something that I think we all share in common, is that there are times where we need to be quiet and we need to have a time to find our center. And I really like that. I try to participate in that too. A couple of times as a board member, I would actually share some music that is spiritual oriented. So that is always a good time to come.
And what about smaller children? Are there activities for the kids?
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up. This Friday, 9 to 2, is Education Day. A bunch of schools come. We are set to break the record. We have over 4,000 participants already signed up, and that exceeds what we had last year. So the numbers are going up, and I really do think that this is something that the children can see. It's something different. We also have a children's program from 11:15 to 12:45 on Sunday. I think it's important for them to see that there's a larger world out there and that there's a deep past that they can take a look at and see how it can be used today.
Absolutely.
I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
And the one thing my sister and I especially noticed last year when we were looking at some of the food options is, as some of these communities move to our area, there are new food options, and from some cultures that you might not have thought of.
We do have new foods come, and I don't have the complete list yet because they're still setting things up. But that is something that I think is really neat. We have the same layout, but when you go there, you go to Heritage Lane, you'll see something new, something developed. Maybe even in your cultural booth, there's something new to see. Same thing with the food. A new food vendor comes, and you're like, wow, this is a very neat aroma. I wonder what it tastes like. And so you can get that salty craving, you can get that sugary craving, you can get that refreshment. It's just something that really calms you and helps you to find your center. Even though it's all this commotion going on, it's something that is happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very happy, and it's a chance for you to expand your horizons without even having to leave and go far away.
Exactly. How many years?
This is the 81st.
81st.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so International Institute of Wisconsin has been around for over 100 years. And I've been part of that work effort for 12 years. But there are people who are teachers coming on Education Day who remember being kids.
When they first came.
Yeah.
That's where I learned about it. I went as a kid. I would go there. Did they still have the passports?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, they'd give us passports, and you would run. We wouldn't run. we would walk expeditiously to booth to get our stamps and see who got the most stamps. But yeah, that was when I was in grade school.
Check it out. It is this weekend at State Fair Park in West Dallas, the Holiday Folk Fair International. Paul Trebian, the president and CEO of the International Institute of Wisconsin, which puts on the fair, has been our guest. Thank you so very much, Paul. It was so nice to see you.
Great to see you. Thank you so much.
Stay with us. When we return, we'll wrap it up with This Shouldn't Be a Thing, Insurance Fraud Edition. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you on the Civic Media Radio Network. Welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Sweet Galby on the board. Coming to you from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. The number is the same. Call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching in the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform that used to be Twitter. I wanted to mention this very quickly. Oh, I just lost it. Jesse Opoyan, posting on Twitter, the Wisconsin Office of Lawyer Regulation has filed a complaint against former state Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, alleging violations of the Wisconsin Rules of Professional Conduct for Attorneys. Story coming soon.
Ooh.
We going to get our $2 million back?
Looks like, Jesse's a reporter for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Hopefully that'd be great. Or pay that.
Our $2 million?
Hand it over to Robin.
Yeah, that we spent for Michael Gableman to chase around the country and attend symposiums by My Pillow guy looking for evidence of voter fraud, of which there was none.
None. According
Zippo.
to the Popcorn King.
Robin Voss. Robin Voss said it himself. All right, it is 11:53, Calvin. That means it is time for...
This shouldn't be a thing.
If you ever have a thing you think should not be, send it into Greg and me at janesays@civicmedia.us, JANESAYS at civicmedia.us. From the Associated Press, headline reads, insurers say bear that damaged luxury cars was actually a person in a bear costume. Called Operation Bear Claw.
Oh, my God.
According to the California Insurance Department, 4 LA residents were arrested last week, accused of defrauding three insurance companies out of almost $150,000 by claiming a bear had damaged their vehicles. Now, it's not like this never happens, because that actually does happen. I've seen videos of bears going after a car or something that's in the car usually. The group is accused of providing video footage from the mountain area of a bear moving inside of a Rolls Royce and 2 Mercedes. So they took this video footage and took it to the insurance companies as part of their damage claims. Photos provided by the insurance department show what do appear to be scratches on the seats and the doors. But after the insurance companies looked at the video of the Rolls Royce, they suspected this was not actually a bear, but someone in a bear costume. Detectives found 2 additional claims with 2 different insurance companies with the same date of loss and at the same location. Similar video was provided of the bear inside of those vehicles. It is not immediately known if the 4 people arrested had attorneys. Well, I'm going to need one now.
Yeah.
The department had a biologist from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife review the 3 videos, concluding, quote, it was clearly a human in a bear suit, unquote.
It was clearly a human in a bear suit. God, this is what I went to college for?
Guy in a bear suit. Bears breaking into homes, again from the Associated Press. And trash cans searching for food has become a problem in California, all over the place, from Tahoe down to the foothills of Los Angeles. They've also been, photographed in tubs and stuff. But maybe you guys, if you're going to try and commit insurance fraud, scale up the bear costume.
I put that in the notes. If you're going to commit fraud, spend a little money on the costume.
Well, invest in the venture. This just seems like a very half-hearted effort.
Yeah, it's not. I would watch a movie about the failure of this mission. I would watch a good comedy about just bumbling idiots.
We got this great idea, Bill.
By great idea, you mean we're going to go to jail probably?
Well, no, that's not it.
Okay.
We're going to rent a bear costume. We will include this in our show notes. You really do need to see a picture of this costume. It's worth it.
She says with air quotes coming out of her mouth.
That wraps up today's edition of
This shouldn't be a thing.
Coming up tomorrow, Dr. Laura Hanks will be here with public service announcement. Looking ahead to Thursday, retired Major General and member of National Security Leaders for America, Randy Manner, is going to be back with us. We are going to talk about some of the potential cabinet members that Donald Trump is considering for his next administration, as well as he is talking about bringing back retired military members so they can be held to trial.
That doesn't, honestly, like, that seriously feels like that's something that isn't a thing. Like,
well, we'll find out. Randy Manner, that will be here on Thursday. News is coming up next, followed by Todd Alba from noon to 2, Maggie Dawn from 2 to 4, Dom Salvia 4 to 6 p.m., and of course, Pete Schwaba will wrap it up tonight 6 to 8. Don't forget, Earl Ingram kicks off the mornings here in Racine at 8 a.m. So tune in for that.
All right.
Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and all of our engineers. Without you guys, nothing works. Thank you most of all for calling and for texting and for listening. It absolutely means the world. I hope you find some joy today, even just a little bit, and you have the chance to share it. Keep it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll see you tomorrow.